You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you back with me here today. Can't wait to get into part 2 of our Cabral HouseCalls. We are going to be answering more of our global communities questions here today. Yesterday on episode 1275, we answered about 6 questions, I believe, and all sorts of great questions. A lot of them really debunking the theory that it's your genetics or hereditary causal factors that create disease. And while I said yes, that's what you're susceptible to, I said no, it does not mean you have to have it. And if you do get it, you absolutely can reverse that. And the reason that you can reverse it is that genes are genes, and they can be turned on or they can be turned off. It's honestly your choice from the environment in which it's in. And it has everything to do with the de-stress protocol that I wrote about in the Rain Barrel Effect. It has to do with that protocol, which is the diet, the exercise, the stress, the toxins, the rest, the emotions, the supplements, and the success mindset that you carry with you through life. Those are the causal factors, good or bad, that keep you dis-ease-free or full of disease in the body. So that is why, there's hope for everyone. Not everybody wants to do the work. I understand that. It's not necessarily easy all the time. And I'm not the person who does a rah and hype you up and say, oh, it's only going to be 60 seconds a day and that's all you need. No, it's actually a lifestyle that you live. But the nice thing is this, is if you begin to, not perfect, if you begin to live a healthier lifestyle, the benefits come in areas that you would never imagine. So as I started to get well, my entire mood changed. Now, I worked on my emotions and I worked on my success mindset while I was working on health. But now, I have to be one of the happiest people that I know. The people that really enjoy life. I'll be walking down the street, smiling, looking around, and just being grateful. And people probably looking at me like, what's wrong with that person? But it's I am now in a place that I can look back and say, wow, I used to be here. And I never thought I would be here. How did I get here? And I realize it's through diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, which is cultivating the parasympathetic nervous system, emotional balance. I do get stressed sometimes, but then I say, okay, we need to balance this. We need to reframe it. I take my supplements every day, and then I work on my success mindset daily. So again, when I look at that, I say, okay, those are things that I did. And when they start to slide, too many cheat meals, like anybody else, or not enough exercise, or too much exercise, I begin to slide. So now I just simply look at those and I say, okay, I'm out of balance, right? There's a reason we call it equilibrium. You need to stay in balance. It's not about moderation. Moderation is having 1 cookie a day instead of 6. It's having 1 glass of wine instead of 1 night a week, right? There's different variations of moderation. It's about balance. If you're fighting cancer right now, no alcohol. Moderation, alcohol and cancer, they don't mix. You can't do alcohol even once a week because that's weakening what? Your immune system. You can't do it, right? So moderation for the person with cancer means no alcohol. But for another person, it could easily be, you can have a couple drinks 1 night a week. It's about balance. The person with alcohol, the person with cancer, if they do any alcohol, they become imbalanced right away. Another person, they're living a healthy life, they have alcohol once a week, not going to affect them. Not as big a deal. Okay, so I know I'm supposed to be answering questions today, so we'll get back onto the questions, but I just wanted to share that with you, and I do enjoy going off on tangents and rants and getting sidetracked. But let's now get back onto our questions. Okay, some of the questions that are longer today, you'll be able to read them in full at stephencabral.com/1 1276. You can follow right along with the questions. And again, I've never read the questions before. They come into me, and then I answer them as if you were sitting across from me on Skype. Okay, Kari is asking, hi, Dr. Stephen Cabral, and thank you for taking the time to answer my question today. I'm a 27-year-old female living in Brisbane. Within the past year or so, I've had about 3 outbreaks of scalp issues. I have consistent patches of dandruff. I scratch hard. It brings blood to the surface, similar to when I had psoriasis. It's happened on 3 different occasions, the crown of my head. It's waxy, and I can't get rid of it 4 days at a time. I'm blow drying my hair and air drying. It's very occasionally noticeable. I've tried tea tree oil shampoos, prescription shampoos, Head and Shoulders, Selsun Gold. It goes away for a week and then it returns within 2 to 3 weeks on several occasions. I eat 70-30 clean and healthy, but I don't hold myself back with junk food or treat meal. I was diagnosed with celiac in 2012, and I believe my gut is in fine condition, but I have never tried a cleanse. Do you think this sebum buildup is gut related? Do you have any advice on how to get rid of the sebum waxy buildup and dandruff forever? Thank you. Kari, absolutely. This is something that we work on all the time. Call it psoriasis, call it a candida crown, call it eczema buildup, call it dandruff, call it dry scalp. Even if you just type in dry scalp, if you go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and use that search bar and you type in dry scalp, you'll see we've answered this many times. So what I'd like to do is this. First of all, you're eating 70 clean right now. I'm not going to say it's not going to be fine in the future, but it could be harming you right now. And that's the thing, because you could have gut-based issues. I can tell you if you have gut-based issues, and the only way we know for sure is if you run the gut-based tests. And I would run the organic acids test, stool test, and food sensitivity test. If you can only do 2, organic acids test, food sensitivity test. Organic acids test, stool test. Food would be 3rd. So that's what I would do. We absolutely need to work on your gut. There's no doubt in my mind, but again, the lab test will back that up. And then we're going to have to do an elimination diet, because a lot of the foods that you're eating right now, unfortunately, they're probably part of the cause of this. So we'll do the elimination, but the nice thing is this. Then we'll get the scalp healing. And then what we'll do is we'll allow those foods to come back in. We'll test them. Does it cause any start of buildup in your scalp? And if so, okay, we know that food is one of the culprits. Let's take it back out again. Let's remove it for 12 weeks. Okay, add it back in. Does it work? Okay, now it works. Great. Like, this is typically how it works. So, and then in the meantime, we need to be using the bergamot essential oil, the tea tree essential oil, a little bit of sesame oil or coconut oil for the area that's typically affected, okay? And that's where I would start. Thank you, Kari, for writing in. Katie's up next. I recently got some blood work done, and my MCV and MCH were slightly elevated. So I ran my B12 and folic acid, which came back normal. Should I be concerned? Well, there's always a concern, for sure. Like, you should not have blood work that is out of the recommended ranges. And remember, from a functional medicine perspective, you can't just be within range, right? Because if you're 25% towards the top or 25% at the bottom, not always the truth, not always. I just want to throw that out there. But you still doesn't mean that you're optimal, right? And functional medicine is all about optimal levels, not kind of good levels. All right, so let's go over what it means when your MCH levels and MCV levels are slightly out of range. So let's see, you said you were slightly elevated. All right, so let's tell you what the high elevation is. MCV, it's B12, folate, vitamin C, or what a lot of people don't know is it can also be ferritin levels, okay, with iron, or microscopic internal bleeding from inflammation in the gut. This doesn't mean you're literally bleeding, but it actually does. It doesn't mean that you're bleeding in a lot amount, but it means that you have a lot of inflammation and you're causing this microscopic bleeding. Now, remember, most doctors run what? They run B12 and they run folate. But what do you really need to be able to test those? If you're using it or not, you need to run methylmalonic acid. That means if you're actually using the B12, right? I mean, that's important. You can run your folic acid, your folate, but it's in your blood. Are you running it? Is it actually in your cells? I don't know. I don't know what you ran was. Both of those, your vitamins can be tested on the organic acids test. That's what I would run. Okay, so that's that. And then I believe you said it was your MCH. Is that correct? Yes, MCH, which is the same exact thing. It's vitamin C. Okay, you can run that. That will show in the organic acids test. But now MCH can also be B6, B12, and folate, yes. And then low stomach acid, because you might not be absorbing those, as well as potentially heavy metals. So if you ran the starter kit, which is the organic acids test and the hair tissue mineral analysis, you'd really have the answers that you need. So Katie, that's the best way that I can help you, is that I want to see if like what's going on here. Is it an absorption issue? Is it a gut-based issue? So we need to take a look at that, and that's how we can help you. Okay. Savannah's up next. Good morning. Thanks for the wonderful podcast. For the past 10 years, I've been slowly acquiring new symptoms. First started with fatigue, then came painful body aches, now migraines, and some chest pains and eczema too. Chronic urinary tract infections, strep throat, constipation, irregular menstrual cycle. I'm so tired and in pain. I suffer from anxiety, depression, OCD. I always feel on edge and moody, not my personality. I've always have a lot of symptoms and don't know where to start. I can't afford hundreds of dollars worth of labs. If you could choose one, what would it be? Thank you, and hope to find a place to start. Feeling overwhelmed. So Savannah, this was exactly me. Like, this wasn't kind of like me. This was exactly me at 17 years old. And you filled up your rain barrel all the way, and now it's overflowed. And you're just pouring in more and more and more. So this is exactly, I had fatigue, and then I had full body pains, and I had chest pains. I could feel my heart beating in my neck, right? There's actually a diagnosis for that too. I had skin-based issues. I had ringworm. I had eczema. I had psoriasis. So strep throat all the time. I had pneumonia all the time. I know exactly where you're coming from. I had the anxiety. I had the depression, the OCD. There's no doubt about that. And that happens, like, again, people say like, oh, this is what happens to the body systematically as it begins to just fatigue and break down. This is what happens. If your body is literally, I'm not going to, like, it's not as dramatic as I'm making it sound because all of this is fixable. And Savannah, I'm going to give you those answers. But as the body is basically failing, it's sending you signals that we're not well. That's the anxiety. I'm overwhelmed. That's kind of the obsessive compulsive as well. And I don't want to do anything because I'm so worn out. That's the low mood, low depression. So you have to understand, like, the mind does follow the body as well. Now, the body can also follow the mind. They work together, right? They're literally connected by the nervous system. Nervous system talks to the brain. Brain talks to the body through the nervous system. So here's what we have to do. And I know, like, again, I talked about this all the time. When I was 17, couldn't afford every lab test. So what did I do first? Well, I ran and what I recommend for you is the thyroid adrenal hormone. Because you have to start with, hey, what do your hormones look like? Okay? And that's what I would do. Now, if you have gut function issues, if you have digestive issues, instead of spending the money on the organic acids test, stool test, food sensitivity test, why not do the elimination diet, the very specific one that we have that comes with our CBO protocol? So if you do that, then it's going to wipe out whatever you would have found on that organic acids test and stool test. Now, I love running those in the first place because in the stool test, you could find parasites or H. pylori, and the CBO protocol is not going to work on those. But there are different ways to get around this, right? So, or you might just do them every 3 months. So that's what I did. So I didn't see an alternative doctor, and I put that in air quotes, till I was about 19, because that's when we found out about this other form of medicine in the late 90s. And so here's what I did. I ran the food test, and I ran the hormone test to start. Then after that, I ran some gut testing and a stool test. And then after that, I ran a hair tissue mineral. So it's like I kept finding out about these new labs that I could run. And that's what I did. And so I recommend the same for you. I don't recommend the food test right away just because I want to go deeper. So I would love for you to run either the starter kit, which saves you at least $100. That's the organic acids test and the hair tissue mineral analysis together. That would be amazing. Or you could run the thyroid adrenal hormone. That will look at your vitamin D, your blood sugar, your thyroid levels from free T4, free T3, TPO antibodies, TSH. Would look at your cortisol, your estrogen, your progesterone. And since there's so many issues there, I do recommend running that as well. That's where I would start. And then it's simply about rebuilding the body. The Rain Barrel Effect, my book is available at equilibriumnutrition.com, along with all these labs. And it's learning the process. And it's also understanding that you can heal, that you really can. I mean, I'm living proof of that. I had all of these to the highest level. Addison's disease, myalgic encephalomyelitis, type 2 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis. I could go on and on, POTS. I mean, I could list the list of diagnosed diseases that I had. There were at least a dozen. None of those diagnoses did me any good. All it did was give me an excuse that I could say, oh, I'm an ME sufferer. I'm an Addison sufferer. I'm an RA sufferer, right? We got these acronyms for everything. But if I'm a sufferer of that, that means I'm a victim to disease, and I don't want anybody to be a victim to their disease. I want them to be a conqueror of dis-ease, not their disease. It is not a part of them if they don't want it to be a part of them. Now, I know all of us don't want us to be sick. I understand that. But we have it now. Now it is part of our journey to overcome that. And by overcoming it, we learn so many lessons in the process that will then hopefully keep us dis-ease free for life. But not only that, we'll then be able to share this healing message with others. That's what the Integrative Health Practitioner program is all about. That's literally what we try to do. It's integrativehealthpractitioner.org. I would love for you to check it out, simply to understand that there's a process here, that you're going to get well. And once you do, share it with others. Like, that's what it's all about. As you teach others, you also reinforce it with yourself. All right. Thank you for writing in. Sinjin's up next. Good morning, Dr. Cabral. I'm looking to further my education upon completion of the Integrative Health Practitioner Level 2. I have read a lot of the books, or I have a lot of the books lined up to read that are all geared towards the 7 branches of IHP, but seeking hands-on work through some of your experiences. I think I answered this last week. Let's see, though. In your opinion, off the top of your head, what would you best recommend for IHPs to get experience once becoming certified? I'd love to say that I'm mostly interested in one method, but I truly enjoy all of them. I'm personally putting to practice the natural hygienist that you've taught about and learning functional medicine labs. I haven't dove much into hypnosis other than listening to psychocybernetics while I sleep to see what happens. I'd love to visit outside the US or Hawaii to intern and learn, but I don't know where to start. If you don't mind, could you give a few recommendations to my others seeking more cultural immersion? Thank you. Last time I wrote in was in the 500th episode. Congrats on breaking the 1,000. Lots of inspiration and guidance you and your team have provided along the way. Gracias. All right. Thank you for writing in. I feel like I just answered this. So let me just type in intern and let's see if anything comes up at stephencabral.com/podcast. Well, 976 episodes come up. So let's see if I can find one that's more geared towards a recent-based show. I thought so. I found it. It's episode 1268, literally last weekend. That's it. How to pursue a health career. So check out that episode, Sinjin, and I know that you wrote in many weeks before this show came out, but just head on over to stephencabral.com/1268, and you'll find that answer over there. I think it's pertinent because I can't recommend a path for anyone. That's the interesting thing, is that I'm unique in my own way because of what happened to me in my health and then how I studied, right? Like I read thousands of books before I even went back to school to get my degree. And then I also decided to study all over the world. That's not what most people do. That's not even required to get your doctor's degree in naturopathy. But I wanted to do that for me. So don't do it for anyone else. Follow your passion and then teach your passion to others. Don't choose a niche because you think that it's going to be what you can make the most money in or you could even affect the most amount of people. Do it because you're passionate about it, because remember, the days can be long. You're going to be talking about the same information over and over so that people can hear it in different ways and that it stays current. So you have to love it. So what I would do is I would explore and I would read many, many books. And then whatever books speak to you the most about a certain methodology, go and then study that more. Take another certification. Do more courses. Like the Integrative Health Practitioner certification, I think it's the best in the world. I really believe that. That's how it was developed. That's how it's built. It's real-world protocols. There's nothing else like it out there. But I'm not saying it's the only one. I'm saying follow then your true passion. And if you say traditional Chinese medicine is my passion, well, you might go back to become an herbalist. You might actually go to China and study traditional Chinese medicine. Maybe you just do a month internship. Maybe you do a 2-week internship. Maybe you take a local herbalism course. Maybe you go back to become an acupuncturist, because then you can use all your TCM as well, right? So all I can tell people to do is don't rush the process. Read as much as you can. What speaks to you that you can't learn enough about? For me, there's many different disciplines that I love. but I couldn't get enough of reading labs, learning about labs, mastering labs, combining that with Ayurvedic medicine. Couldn't get enough of it. Now, did I study many, many other things? Yes. Like bioregulatory medicine is another thing, but hardly anybody knows about bioregulatory medicine. But I love it, and I study it. Obviously, with naturopathy, like I studied all the natural hygienists. But when I look at all of it, it's like it's part of who I am. But for me, I can't get enough of learning about how to live in harmony with nature. And well, let's consider that Ayurvedic medicine. And I can't get enough of how to then use state-of-the-art lab work to figure out exactly the reason why someone is in the condition they're in right now. Whether they're overweight and can't lose the weight, we can figure that out. Whether they can't get well, it doesn't matter that you've seen 1,000 other doctors. We hear that all the time. We didn't run the right lab. We weren't on the right protocol. We weren't doing them in the right order. There are levels to this. Or that you feel like you're aging rapidly, that you're losing all of your vitality. Well, we can work on that as well. So that's the thing is like, that's what I love to do. Don't be me. And I'm not saying that, Sinjin, you want to be me, but I hope nobody does. That I want you to be you, that you do whatever you love. And that's really the best advice I can give. Let's do one more question. Claudio is up next. Appreciate all the knowledge you share, and it's great that you offer it free to the public. Recently completed your CBO protocol, and I'm doing the CBO finisher now. This has completely healed my severe case of psoriasis and improved my digestion. So let me just stop here for a second. I did not ask Claudio to write in with this. We've never asked for a testimonial. If you go to cabralsupportgroup.com, it's a free Facebook group. There are about 6,000, that's the time of this recording, members in it. What we are doing works. You have to understand is everyone thinks that they can't heal because they've never been able to do it to this date. Claudio had severe psoriasis and had digestive issues like bloating, gas, whatever it might be. Those are healed now. I say this because I practiced for many years and still practice to this day, but it was all in Boston. And yes, people used to fly in from all over to visit the practice in Boston. But we are now a virtual practice, and we can ship people these protocols to 19 countries around the world. And again, I say this not in ego, but in that it really works. And we want to help you. That's what it's all about. We want to help you. There are other protocols people say, oh, this heals digestion. Just do bone broth. Just do collagen to heal your digestion. No, sure, it might help a few people. That's not how you heal your gut. You heal your gut by finding out what's wrong with it, removing what shouldn't be there, replacing what's supposed to be there in the right order, this order, and then it sealing it up and regenerating it. That's the way that you heal. You can say, oh, I did a protocol kind of like yours. No, it wasn't. It either was ours or it wasn't. And I don't say that to be mean. I'm not saying that right now. And I'm not saying that to be egotistical. And I'm not even saying that to like buy our protocol. What I'm saying that is that if it's not the protocol we recommend exact, I can't vouch for it. And it also doesn't mean just because you did that protocol that this one's not going to work. And this is a rant right now because we have a lot of people write in saying, oh, I did something like it, so I'm not going to do yours. Well, it wasn't ours. I don't know who did it. I don't know the order that you did it in. And I also don't know the diet that went along with it. So that's why I wanted that little rant there for a reason. What we do works. So much so that we guarantee it. How many other people do that? I don't even know because I don't want you to spend the money. Listen, if I could give all this away for free, I would. I give everything that I can away for free. All the information, how to do it, the ingredients, it's all there. It's all there. Every dollar that comes in through the Rain Barrel Effect book goes to charity. I can't give the supplements and the protocols and the labs away for free because they cost me money, right? So and we have a team now over 24 people. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. But thank you, Claudio, for writing in. And I had to do that rant because it works. It just works. And I want you to be a part of this movement. That's it. Okay. Now, your question actually is, it's for your father. And he had a colonoscopy about 5 years ago. His doctor removed some polyps, and he found diverticulitis in his colon. He has tried to stay on a low-fiber diet, avoid anything with seeds, and tried to avoid high-lectin foods. For the past couple of months, he'd been eating healthier, more veg in his diet. He recently completed the 21-day detox and felt great. However, he was constipated the last week of the detox. He was eating a lot of dark green leafies, decided to cut out the greens in hopes of resolving his constipation. Continued a diet full of veggies and legumes and fish and poultry and smoothies. Upon completing the detox, started the foundational protocol level 2 and the activated B complex from Equilibrium Nutrition. A couple days after starting the process, was experiencing some bloating and started experiencing some bloating. Okay. He was looking towards his colon. He has some diverticulitis, and they are looking now at what they can do to recover. Also, do you think leaky gut and diverticulitis are related? Any advice would be helpful. I tried searching diverticulitis on your podcast and found a brief mention on a house call. Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, so I'm happy to help with this. Diverticulitis can be caused by multiple factors, and you want to be very careful adding back in high fiber, legumes, and a lot of foods that would be considered aggravants for the gut. Remember, I did a podcast on the low lectin diet. I've done a podcast on keto. I've done a podcast on carnivore. And there's a reason why they do work. Now, they work because they're eliminating a lot of times the higher fiber or the lectins or anything that could aggravate the gut. But remember, the only reason it's aggravating the gut is because there's a pre-existing issue. Now, in something as serious as this, Claudio, I don't want to guess. Honestly, like if someone's like, oh, I get hives and this and that, I say, oh, do a rotation diet or use this, use that. But this is a serious case, right? This is serious. So what I want to do is this. I want to make sure that you're working with your doctor's specialist. And I also want to make sure you're either working with a functional medicine doctor in your area that specializes in the gut, an integrative health practitioner, or our team, whatever it might be. You choose. So honestly, like that's the thing too about me is like, I want to promote integrative health in general, real natural medicine, right? So, I mean, in my opinion, you have to run a stool test, you have to run an organic acids test, and you have to run a food sensitivity test. That's the bottom line. I don't see a way around this because you have to know what's aggravating your dad's gut. That's where I would start. Wait to save up the money. I would even run that food test. Like even though I say, hey, if you can leave one out, but we don't even know because your dad's reacting to healthy foods, right? And if he's reacting to healthy foods, and this is a real medical-based condition, we want to help him to the best of our ability. So you can run these labs with any qualified practitioner in your local area because your dad might be someone that actually likes to meet with a doctor. And that's totally fine as well. So find a good functional medicine doctor that says they specialize in the gut and they run an organic acids test and they run a stool test, 3-day stool test, not a 1-day, and that they run an IgG food sensitivity test. If you do that, well, you're probably on the right track. So I'm happy to be able to help. Thank you so much for writing in. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for tuning in. And also thank you for sharing this podcast when you feel that it's able to help someone else in need. Take care. Have a great rest of the weekend. And be sure to join me tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday, the best way to start the week right. Take care. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.